Let's get ready to rumble!
Good morning, y'all. It is Sunday, April 13th on the West Coast. Jerry Teabag Hack here, coming from Mission Control in Mission, British Columbia. Been a good fortnight for you, I hope. Thing about getting older is you tend to get a little dotty. Sometimes you go blank a lot, and I used to be good at Jeopardy, but I find now I know the answer, but I can't get it out of my head. So I turned 64 later this year, and yeah, it's time flies when you're brain dead. I was in my office, which I normally am. Kathleen, my wife, sitting out in the living room in her spot because we tend to watch different things. She likes Gilmore Girls and RuPaul and these kind of shows, which I'm not into. So I sit in my office and watch stuff on the computer or the TV. And then, so this one time I venture out into the living room / kitchen and get myself something. And she's preoccupied and she asked me, "Can you get my phone? It's in my purse." And her purse is hanging across the room from her. So no problem. So I go look in her purse and it's not there. I say, "What? It's not here. Are you sure?" And he said, "Yeah, well, that's where I left it." And check here and check there. And so we're looking all over the floor. And then I realized she's looking at it. she's playing this app, this coloring app that she does. And it's like, man, it's like, "You're looking at it." And she goes, "Oh." Oh, yeah. Anyway, getting older sucks. What it does to your body is not fun. So now, what happened in the news recently? Nothing happened. No tariffs were imposed. Stock market didn't crash and then come back and then crash again. Nobody got plucked off the street and sent to prison in El Salvador. Sorry, I just had a coughing fit. I'm not crying. You're crying. Yeah, nobody got plucked off the street and sent to El Salvador gulag torture prison without due process. Now, for any of my American friends who served in the military, I do not know how you can support Donald Trump. I mean, you swore an oath to uphold the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and Donald Trump is just walking all over the Constitution. He's like throwing it on the ground and stomping on it. So, you know, any of you military people down there, like, you know, get your head out of the sand because this guy is no good. So anyway, that's my political statement for this week. Now, we have an election coming up in Canada, April 28th. Make sure you're registered to vote and vote. Very important. Our district here is pretty conservative, so it's even if I didn't vote conservative, which I'm not sure I will, our MP is good. He does a lot for our district, and yeah, no scandals. The guy's a good, upstanding dude. I really like him. But my political leanings tend to be more liberal. So, you know, and there's also the NDP and the Green Party. So, yeah, I'm still not decided, but vote your conscience and just make sure you get out and vote. Do your civic duty because it's very important. We do not want to end up doing what the States has done now and put this dummy in the White House. So, and that's another rant I'll go on is I hate the fact that we do not vote for our prime minister. Like the Americans have a checkbox for who's running for president and who's running in for their area. Now, we only get to vote for our representative in Parliament. So, we do not get to split our vote like I would like to sometimes, so, because I vote for the person that I think will do the best job. I don't say I'm going to vote liberal. I'm a liberal. I'm a conservative. I'm going to vote conservative. I think that's dumb. So, you're not taking all the facts into consideration. So, I had a truck driver that I used to load all the time. May he rest in peace. Great guy, Ravi. But I asked him, are you going to vote in the election? And he goes, oh, yes, I'm so excited. We're going to vote NDP because my family always votes NDP. I said, Ravi, that's the wrong way to go about it. But you gotta research every candidate and see, who most aligns with what you believe and what you think is right. So, he was so funny, but he ended up getting killed in a truck driving accident and was very sad. He was just a great guy. I loved him. So vote your conscience. And what else we got? We'll get on with it. And then the tariffs, these tariff things, Trump does not know how tariffs work. He doesn't even know what they are. Right? So obviously, if somebody comes up and asks you, are tariffs inflationary? And nobody wins a trade war, Mr. Trump. Nobody. It's bad at both ends. Like tariffs have their place, but this is not how to go about it. It's just tariff crazy and it's just not working. So if somebody comes up to you and asks you, are tariffs inflationary? You just say, no shit, Sherlock. That's our no shit Sherlock for this week. So now, YouTuber of the week. This is a good one. This guy, Chris Shelton. You may recognize him from an interview I did with him a couple years back when I first started this channel. Great guy. He's an expert in cultic thinking. He was a member of a cult. He was a Scientologist, and he was actually hardcore. He went all the way. He joined what's called the Sea Org, and the Sea Org members, they dedicate their lives to the cause. They work 24/7 basically, and they get a couple hours off on Sunday to do their laundry and get personal stuff done. But other than that, they're always working. And I told him that sometimes at where I work, we do what we call massive overtime, which is 10-hour days Monday through Thursday, then 8 hours Friday and 8 hours Saturday. So I told him that, after a few months of this, I go loopy. And I said, how did you not go batshit crazy working like that? And he said, well, who's to say that I didn't? So yeah, he's a great guy. A great, spokesperson on coercive control, and he does it in a very matter-of-fact and friendly manner and easy to understand. He's a great communicator, and he teaches you how to think critically, which is very important. You don't go down these rabbit holes and get caught up in some kind of mass hysteria. So yeah, very good guy. I highly recommend you watch his channel because he's got all sorts of content and interviews a lot of great people, and yeah, do it. The forgotten movie of the week. Now, I'm very excited because the forgotten movie, I watched it again from 2016. It is The Accountant, starring Ben Affleck. I hate it when it does that. There you go. Ben Affleck, John Bernthal, who seems to be in everything these days. He was in The Walking Dead. He's been in a whole bunch of movies and TV shows. I think he was the Punisher. So yeah, John Bernthal, Anna Kendrick, who was awesome in Wedding Crashers. She's really good in this. They're both kind of quirky characters, and they bounce off each other. She's not in the new one, which is what I'm going to tell you about. The Accountant 2 is coming out on April 25th, so I'm really excited to see that. It's got 85% on Rotten Tomatoes. This one is The Accountant, the original movie, is so good. Jeffrey Tambor, he's one of those guys you may not recognize his name, but you recognize his face. He's been in countless movies and TV shows. Excellent actor. Really like his work. And John Lithgow, of course, another guy who's almost in everything. He was in Conclave recently. I watched that, and very good movie. No car chases. It's not action filled. It's very dramatic. Lots of I would call intrigue, maybe, and intense, and it shows you the goings on behind the Catholic Church, so, and how they choose their pope. So yeah, very, very good. And yeah, John Lithgow, excellent actor. And yeah, The Accountant 2 coming out in a couple weeks, April 25th, and I will be there. Probably not day 1, but day 2. So the book of the week, April 6th was can you believe this? 7 years? 7 years since that Humboldt bus crash. And what was it? 16 people were killed. I have it written down here. 16 killed, 13 injured. Just, yeah, and we all wore jerseys and put hockey sticks out front, and to show our, really brought the country together in mass grief, and just a horrible thing. But one of the good things that came out of it was this book, Crossroads by Caleb Dahlgren, who was on the bus, and he was severely injured. And yeah, if you haven't read this book, if you're Canadian, it's your duty to read this book. He goes through everything, all that he's gone through since, and how leading up to the crash. Really well written. I don't know if he had it ghost written or not. If he wrote it himself, he did an excellent job. So yeah, Caleb Dahlgren. I've actually tried to contact him to get him on the show, but I will try again, because I'd really like to talk to him. The only the only negative I would say about the book is he just sounds too good to be true. He's just like, he is such a good guy. Like, he's like almost like the perfect human. It's just like, so, that's the only thing. There was no negativity in the book whatsoever other than the crash. So, he's very positive, very upbeat, and yeah, good book, great book. So 10 out of 10. Now, music of the week. Mick Rouse, if you know that name, turns 81. Hero of mine. I hate this thing. Mick Rouse is this guy. He's the third from the left and back there. He turns 81 now. If you don't recognize this picture, that's Boz Burrell on the left, Paul Rogers in front of him, Mick Rouse behind, and Simon Kirk. Now, these guys formed a super group called Bad Company, and they are one of my favorites of all time. There's some great music there. What's called a super group. They merged from 3 different groups. Boz Burrell to the left there was in King Crimson. Paul Rogers was in Free with Simon Kirk, All Right Now. I'm all right now. I won't try to sing for you. And Mick Rouse was in Mott the Hoople with Ian Hunter. So very accomplished musicians, and Paul Rogers, one of the great singers of all time. Bad Company, the original album, every song on this album is epic. It's so good. I just love this album. I wore out more than one copy when I got it on vinyl. Straight Shooters, again, every song is great. A couple of really epic songs, Feel Like Making Love and Shooting Star. Run with the Pack. This was the album that got me interested in Bad Company. And if you look at the album cover, right, you see all the pups there suckling. Well, the one to the furthest right there is a child. So, yeah. So I love this album cover. It's very ingenuitive. Burning Sky, not a great album. Some good songs, but hardly listened to it at all. But probably their worst album of the 7 that they all did together. Desolation Angels, excellent. Really sit back and listen music. Rough Diamonds, a couple good songs on this one. Not their best work. That was their last album they did together as a group, because they started having infighting. Paul Rogers and Boz Burrell actually came to blows one time. So after this album, Paul Rogers left to do a solo career, and then he formed The Firm with Jimmy Page. So Paul Rogers, a excellent singer, probably one of the best singers in rock and roll. So check them out. That's the music of the week. Yeah, Mick Ralph's born on March 31st, same day as friend of the show, Stan Fischler. So Stan, happy birthday. Turned 93 on March 31st. So give your birthday wishes to Stan, belated as they may be. Got a great interview coming up with Steve Passmore. It's long, but it's worth the watch. The time will fly, trust me, because we talked for like 2 hours, and I only was able to edit out maybe 40 minutes, and it's still like 2 hours long. It's like still an hour and a half maybe, and so, but well worth it. A great guy, really accommodating. Really enjoyed talking to him. Hopefully we'll have him on again. So I think. Oh, actually, I wanted to show this, the accountant. So we'll sign off with this. We're going to show the accountant trailer from 2016.
You're different. Sooner or later, different scares people. You think if you don't fight back, then maybe they'll like you. Stop picking on you, calling you a freak. Victim or not, make a decision.
Your son is a remarkable young man. It wouldn't surprise me if he has more in common with Einstein, Mozart, and Picasso than he does with us. He has highly advanced cognitive skills. The obsessive personality.
Can our son lead a normal life?
Define normal. Maybe he's capable of much more than we know.
Say you're the head of the Sinaloa cartel. Who can you trust to track your stolen cash? He's capable of coming in cold, uncooking years of books, and getting out alive. Imagine the secrets this guy has.
Who are you?
Can our son lead a normal life?
Define normal.
Ooh, so scary. Ooh. Great movie. Enjoy the interview, everybody. We'll talk later. Oh, and by the way, as Craig's not here, very, very busy these days. Like, Craig runs a landscape company, and yeah, it's just a crazy busy time for him. His company's growing, and so he'll be back eventually. So we'll look forward to that day. Craig, we love you and we miss you. So enjoy the interview, everybody. See ya.
Let's get ready to rumble!
All right, people, welcome to the interview portion of our show for this fortnight. How do you rate goalies? I have a very specific way of doing it, and I'll share that with you. Anybody who's played rec league, beer league, or fat league, as some of us put it, they can be anywhere from, this guy's not bad, he can play. And then there's others, guy shouldn't be playing and probably couldn't stop me if I was sliding towards him. I mean, so beer league, rec league, those guys are kind of bottom of the barrel, for lack of a better term. Anybody who played senior A, double A, triple A, or anybody who got paid, to play is pretty good. And that's the level I played. So I always considered myself a pretty good goalie. Now, anybody who's played Div 2 or lower college hockey, Tier 2 junior, those guys are really good. Those are good goalies. They know what they're doing. And anybody who's played major junior, no further, Div 1 college, but no further, those are excellent goalies. Those guys are really, really good. And anybody who's played AHL, IHL, ECHL, anybody who's played pro hockey, signed a pro contract, those are excellent goalies. Those are guys that are, a cut above. But anybody who played in the NHL, signed an NHL contract and actually played in the NHL, those guys are the top 0.0001%. They're the elite. They are the best of the best. And I am so excited to talk to this guest today that you could hang your coat on my nipples there. This is a real treat for me. This guy played almost 100 games in the NHL, played in the Western Hockey League, set records, and I actually got to watch him play live, and he fought Garth Snow right below me. And so I want to welcome to the show Steve Passmore. Welcome, Steve. Thanks a lot for doing this.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Man, so first off, we like to get to know our guests a little bit. So tell us where you were born and raised, and what kind of bad habits you got when you were growing up.
Well, those are, the bad habits. Those are just going to be a lengthy discussion. True, we use the facilities in Thunder Bay, Ontario, but my family moved to Grand Forks, BC when I was 3 months old. That's home. So it actually pisses me off when they always said my hometown was Thunder Bay, because it's not. I take a lot of pride in being from a small town in BC. So I'm a BC boy everywhere other than my birth certificate. Grew up as a rancher in Grand Forks, BC, and that's where the first 14 years of my illustrious life were formed right there. Bad habits. I was a rancher. I started chewing tobacco from the time I was 7 years old, thanks to the boys down the road that were older than me. And well, I haven't quit yet. So when you move from ranching to hockey, it's not the time to quit chewing.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I know when I played hockey in Saskatchewan, senior hockey, as I was saying, and quite a few of the guys on the team chewed. So it was, you didn't want to sip from the bottle that they were spitting into. That's for sure.
You got to watch your spitter.
Now, who's your team? Who do you vote for now? Who do you root for?
If I was being 100% honest, it is the two teams that I spent the longest time with. So it is Edmonton and Chicago. Those are the two that I would say if they're on the TV. I do watch hockey. My wife, who's an absolute sweetheart, every time if I come home from work and she's home first, she'll have a hockey game on. Don't tell her that I really don't give a shit, but don't tell her because it's the sweetest thing in the world that she's got a game on. But she also knows that those are the two teams that'll be, if they're playing that night, they're the ones I'm watching.
Mm-hmm. Now you must have been somewhat of a prodigy growing up because you actually played you played one game in the Western Hockey League in Tri-City when you were 15. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we got beat pretty bad. I let in 6. I think we lost 6-1. I was 15. I think it was the owners. Remember, this is back when if you stayed at any time with the WHL team, you got burned, right? Like you couldn't go Div 1. So it was like they locked you into the WHL. So I think I backed up a few games that year. Ron Dixon was the owner, and I think there was a grandmaster plan in having me there when I was 15, just to make sure that I had one avenue. But I did get in one game in Seattle, and I remember who was it? It was Stu Malgunas. He landed on top of me and he's straddling me. And I just looked up to him like, get the fuck off me. And he looks down and he just punched me square right between the eyes. And four of the screws on my helmet just went. He's like, shut up, rookie. I'm like, that's a really good point, sir. Yes, that is I will shut up.
Okay, so we're really big on storytelling in this. So if we talk about something that brings up a memory you have at, or we love stories out. Well, I remember you playing because your name always stuck with me because my ability was not great. I wasn't I was a good athlete. I wasn't a great athlete. And like my way of playing goal was completely different than yours because I had to be more conservative in my movements. Because if I got out of position, I didn't have that ability to recover. So I had to make sure that I was always, set for the next whatever. So, but you were aggressive, which I really liked, and I liked watching you play because you were just balls out all the time, and it's just like I really, because you weren't the biggest of guys. You're what, 5'9", 170 pounds or something. I think you're listed. So, but you were very good athletically. Like you could recover, whereas I had no chance. So.
Well, it's funny though, because I credit my parents because when I came to them when I was 9 and I said, that was back in the days when you played half in, half out, right? And growing up in a small town, you play half the game in, half the game out. And I told my mom, who was my coach, and I said, I want to be a goalie full time. She's like, not till you're the best skater on the team. I'm like, challenge accepted. All right. And so by the end of the season, I was the best skater on the team. And she's like, all right, I guess you can be a dumb goalie now. But it was. And at 5'9", it's funny, that first game you see in the WHL is 135 pounds in my first dub game. But yeah, my playing weight was anywhere from 155 to 170. And you better be quick because you're not accidentally getting in the way of anything.
Yeah. So you ended up in Tri-City again the next season, but only 4 games. Were those at the beginning of the year or during the year?
Yeah. So Ole Kolzig was drafted. He was with Tri-Cities. He went to Washington's camp. And at 16 years old, they had nobody. I was supposed to be the starter. You look at the numbers, I was not ready. I got shelled pretty good my first 4 games, and they decided they had to go get another guy. I think Donnie Blishin was his name. I think they traded for him from Swift Current. He was an older dude. I think he was 19 or something like that. So they brought him back going, okay, I guess Steve can't be the starter at 16, shocker. And then so I was there for a bit, and then Ole got sent back from Washington, so I lost my job.
And where did you end up there? It says you played 10 games for Merritt, I think.
Yeah, went to Merritt. We weren't a great team. I was probably, I'm going to say mental. I'm not blaming it on anybody else. I was a bit of a mental midget. Because you get smoke blown up your ass when you're so young, and they tell you how good you are, and then you go to. I went to Tier 2 in Merritt, and still good league. But I thought I should still be in the WHL. Honestly, I thought I probably should be there learning as a backup. I failed as a starter at 16, which I don't think there's a whole lot of shame in that. Looking back now, back then I was pretty disappointed. I went to Tier 2, really didn't play very well, didn't help my situation, and we were a bad team. And then ended up back in minor hockey. You started the year as a starter in the WHL, and next thing you know, you're playing midget.
Yeah. Well, I never played minor hockey, so I can't relate. So I was playing street hockey. Now you somehow end up with Victoria. How did that happen? Victoria Cougars in the WHL.
Well, funny, the Ron Dixon, who I talked about, after he cut me, or they cut me, and he actually publicly came out and said that I was the shits, and that I would never mind would I ever play for the Tri-City Americans again, but I would never play in the WHL again because I was just terrible. And so he traded me to Victoria, I think, for a bag of pucks. I still hold three records in the WHL, and I got a Memorial Cup ring. So fuck you, Ron. I think I made it.
Really, yeah. Yeah. Parts of 3 seasons with Victoria. One name that stuck out for me was Shea Esselmont, because I remember watching him with the Vancouver Voodoo, and so he was one of your teammates in Victoria. Now, those 3 seasons, 160 losses. Now,
I didn't say we were good.
No, yeah, you were at the bottom of the league all 3 years, and now I'm just wondering, like, in one season you played 71 games out of 72, so you're in, night out playing. And how does that wear on you? How do you stay positive through that kind of, constant losing?
You know what? I think that's kind of where I got better mentally. As far as you'd have to have little goals. I had to set little personal goals. So whether it was, only letting in 4, which it sounds ridiculous, but when your team, when you struggle and your team's just, you're a knife to a gunfight every night. My goal was to be one of the 3 stars of the game. Like, I know that was one of my goals going in. It was like, okay, I'm not going to look at the score. I'm not going to look at anything. I'm going to be one of the 3 best players on the ice tonight. Regardless of what happens, I'm going to be one of the top 3. And that really drove me, because when you're on a team that, we're a good bunch of guys, but we just really sucked at hockey. It was, you had to pick your little goals and take that from it, because if not, you would have gone nuts. Like, I think that year, I went, what did I go, 15, 50 and 1 or whatever it was? I can't remember, but it wasn't good. 71 out of 72 games. That record will not be broken.
No, I seriously.
And if you look, actually, the next year, I think I played 68 the next year.
Wow. Now, what was with the other goalies? Were they just not able to play, or there?
Well, so Dave Hamilton was my backup at the beginning of the year. And if you look at the shots and everything like that, I think we averaged 50 shots a game against, if you do the math on it. And I remember we went in, it was before Christmas, we went to Spokane, and Spokane was a powerhouse. And we went in there, and Dave got the start, and He let in 9 goals. We lost 9-3, and we only gave up 33 shots that game. And I remember going, Jesus, that would have been a night off. That was like a period normally. And we got lit up by 9. And I think after that, coach was just kind of like, I think we'll just stick with a short kid. So, and then we got to the end of the season. I think there was about 10 games left, and I went into coach, and I'm like, hey, let me salvage something from this year. Like the record was 70. I'm like, I gotta play all the rest of them to beat it. And he's like, absolutely.
You managed to like become a 9th round draft pick by Quebec that year. So
yeah,
somebody
pulled my name out of a hat.
Somebody noticed. I mean, if that was today, you wouldn't have been drafted because there's no 9th round anymore. It goes 7 rounds. But you do get drafted. Now, where were you when you found out that you had been drafted by Quebec?
Well, I should have been at home drinking a beer.
Yeah, because just as a point of reference, in Kelly Rudy's book, he said he was drafted in the 2nd round. He found out he was playing ball hockey in his basement with his brother. And so back then, there was no going to the draft, putting on the jersey and the hat and getting the pictures taken and all that. You know, the first rounders maybe, but not the later guys.
So think about that, but with an exact opposite thing. So I had 5 teams tell me they were going to take me in the first 3 rounds.
Really?
And yeah, so my agent, God rest his soul, he's passed away since, but Art Breeze, he talked me into going. He's like, listen, there's 5 teams that are going to take you in the first 3 rounds. So you got to go to the draft. I'm like, Art, I'm not going to the goddamn draft. He's like, yep. And it was in Montreal. So he talked me into it. I went out to Montreal with all my friends or all my family. The night before the draft, actually, I had a meeting with San Jose's head scout. And he's like, Steve, you're our 2nd round pick. Like, that's what it is. You're our 2nd round pick. And I was like, holy shit. Okay, that's good. I like that. And then we get to the draft. And I don't know if you remember that draft, but that was the draft they started pulling Russians out of the woodwork and Euros out of the woodwork. And all of a sudden, everybody took their draft list and just went like this and went, shit, if there's an OFF or an OV or an IN at the end of their name, let's just take them. Mm-hmm. And so I remember the 2nd round comes up and it's San Jose's pick. And I'm like, and they pick somebody else. I'm like, oh. Mm-hmm. And then the next time, oh. So 5th round comes around. I'm still not taken. And it's getting embarrassing. Like, you're at the draft. You're a Western boy at the draft. It's not like I lived in Montreal. I'd flown a long way to be there. And I remember my agent Art comes up to me and he's like, pass. And I'm like, oh, we're not talking. Like, for your own safety, I'd get away from me. And so he went away. And I remember I threw in a big chew and I'm sitting there and I'm mad. I'm just mad that I'm there. Not mad that yes, I'm mad that I'm disappointed I haven't got drafted yet, but I'm mad at the situation. I could have sat at home with my buddies and had a beer and got the phone call and been happy. But I'm sitting there and I'm there with my family. It's embarrassing. And I remember Boston came to talk to me and they're like, oh, we're thinking of taking it. And I'm just have a spit. And I'm like, fuck, whatever, man. You know, take me. I'm good. They didn't. They took Joaquin Gage, actually. But, I think they took Scott Bailey that year. But, so worst emotional roller coaster day of your life. But then Quebec, who was the only team that talked to me in the summer that said, hey, we have a shit ton of goalies, but if you're still around in the 9th round, we'll take you. You won't be, but if you're there, we'd love to have you. And they picked me in the 9th round. Mm-hmm. So it went from the worst day of your life to the best day of your life in about 3 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah. Do you remember what the signing bonus was for 9th round picks?
I actually got a really good one. Nice. My signing bonus was $75,000.
Wow.
Which back in the day for a 9th rounder, usually you got like a, I don't know, case of pop or something like that. Like I got $75,000 for my signing bonus.
Yeah. Well, I played 2 years up in White House and there was a kid up there, Bobby House. He was a 3rd round pick of Chicago. That was probably 1992, and he was
same year.
3rd round pick. He got $70,000. So
I know. I
is-
beat
is
him.
what
And
he told me.
I can bug Hauser about that all day. Love that kid. He's awesome.
Man, I played against him once, man. What a slap shot. I'll tell you a story on my Bobby House story.
He's a bomb. He's got a bomb.
We're practicing at the end of the year because Whitehorse is hosting the Allen Cup. And so we're practicing, and Bobby House comes out just to join us because his season is over. And so he's on the ice with us. So at the end of the practice, and I'm a fairly modest guy. I don't talk about myself a whole lot, but in my own head, I'm really cocky. so I pull Bobby out. I say, okay, you got 10 pucks from between the face-off dots. Do your best. I'll stop 9 out of 10. That was my mindset. And he winds up, and he never hit me once, and he never missed the net. He might have hit the post once. So that's
that man had a bomb of a shot.
He had a cannon. He did. Yes, I know.
And I played with his other good friend. I actually was teammates with his other good friend from Whitehorse, Jared Dooling.
Jared Dooling. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I played against Hauser when he was in Spokane, and he was one guy that when he wound up, you're like, Hauser, just miss the net because this is
I know. I played in a tournament up there, and he was on one of the other teams, and he blew one by me. And I was expecting the Randy Johnson, and I got the Tim Wakefield. He took something off of it. It totally screwed me up.
I didn't know he could do that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he did it. He did it to me. I don't know what happened.
So I can say I got a better signing bonus than Hauser.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, he was a nice guy, like super nice.
Fantastic,
kid.
fantastic man.
Yeah, really liked Bobby. Okay, now you get traded from Victoria to Kamloops, and that must have been a shock to the system because you go from 50 shots a game to what, 30 maybe,
20.
Yeah,
25 was a bad night.
I mean, this was a team. Don Hay was the coach, and you had you had like an all-star lineup in front of you all of a sudden. A really dominant team, a contending team. So how did that change your mindset going from one to the other, where you're winning every night rather than losing?
Well, it was fantastic. I call it getting paroled. Yeah, I got traded up.
Were you expecting it? Did you know that this was going to happen?
Oh, so I'd requested it. Again, funny story. I come back from the draft. I got drafted. I went into the ownership at that time, who was Mr. Brodsky, and I just said, "Hey, listen, I've given you my heart and soul. Like I've given everything I got to you. I've never said a bad word. I'm like, can you please can you trade me to a contender? Like, I don't think I can do any more for you here. I appreciate what you've done for me. But kind of send me to a contender." And he's like, yeah, he goes, "Do me a favor." He says, "Don't say anything." And I'm like, okay. So I didn't say anything. And I show up about a couple of weeks later, and I show up to the rink, and there's a bunch of media, and they're like, "I heard you've asked for a trade." I'm like, all right. So I guess Rick Brodsky told them. But he actually took it right down to the trade deadline, and then traded me to Kamloops, which is funny, to play on 3 teams in the WHL and all be in the West is pretty it's not normal. Usually you don't trade something you don't want to play against there. Mm-hmm. So it was nice. Got traded to Kamloops, came up. I remember my first game. First game was against Prince Albert Raiders. We won 2-1. I was hungover as hell because I had just partied all night with the boys saying goodbye in Victoria. And we won 2-1. We only gave up 21 shots. And the media is like, "Oh, you only let in 1." And I'm like, "Oh, that was usually like that was less than a period normally. Like that was like a night off. I had a couple naps. It was great." So just a different mindset when you came to a team that I remember that team for that year, the rest of that year and the next year. And you'd go into the dressing room and you'd be down, whether it was in the third period and you're behind or whatever, but everybody just kind of looked just like, "Well, we know we're going to win. I don't know how it's going to happen, but we'll win. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. You had everywhere from the coaching staff all the way down. Everybody just went into the game going, not in a cocky way, just a confident way of knowing that somehow you were going to pull it out. Mm-hmm. And we did.
Nice.
9 times out of 10.
Now, were you, I've played against a few NHL guys, Matt Cook, Cliff Ronning, Tiger Williams, I played against once. And the one thing I noticed about them is that they were hyper competitive. Like even the level of hockey we were playing was like casual hockey or a tournament or something Byron Ritchie was another guy that I played against in a tournament. Yeah, and they did not like to be stopped by a beer league goalie. So, would you consider yourself that way? Were you hyper competitive, like you winning at all costs, like win?
Absolutely, that was the fun, and that's when you had anybody that played at that level with those guys and that was on winning teams that ever won a championship. They're going to tell you that's the closest they ever were, and the reason is because you pushed each other even in practice harder than most games, just because you were ultra competitive and you're like, fuck you, you're not beating me. Mm-hmm. Not a chance. I remember the year we won the Memorial Cup with that same, basically it was the same team. A couple guys aged out, but the main core stayed the same. We had more practice fights than I've ever seen in a season. You'd think we hated each other. You thought Victoria, when we were losing every day, you should have been pissy and fighting. No, we had more practice fights in Kamloops than I've ever seen in all my years, and we won because we were that competitive in practice.
Wow, yeah, that's amazing. So yeah, you end up winning. You're 20 years old, and your last year junior Kamloops, and you win the Memorial Cup. You're the WHL playoff MVP, and on your team you had two 16-year-olds, Jerome McGinley and Shane Doan. And then you had also Ryan Huska, Darcy Tucker, Nolan Baumgartner, Brad Lukowicz. By my count, on your roster, you had 15 players who played at least one game in the NHL. So
okay, but you got to look at my defense core. So my defense core was what? Scott Ferguson, Brad Lukowicz, Jason Strodwick, Jason Holland, Aaron Keller. Like we had some talent.
Yeah, stellar, yeah.
Right, and then our top lines were almost unstoppable.
Yeah, it's just like a who's who of junior hockey. Did you ever have a goalie coach?
When?
like in junior hockey,
no.
Because did you go to
the first goalie school I ever went to? I was teaching.
Wow, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, so you're entirely self-taught, basically, is what you're saying. So
yeah, pretty much, whether it's good or bad, I guess. I had the worst goalie coach ever in history in pro, in Chicago, and that was Trechak, by the way.
Oh, really?
Worst goalie coach in the history of goalie coaches.
Could he speak English? Like, could he get his?
Oh yeah, he just didn't want to be there. He just was there for name only, and it was irrelevant. Like I still say that hockey is one of the only sports that really evolves. And so what was relevant back in the 70s is not relevant in 2000. Like, just styles changed, equipment changes, all of the game changed. Football's football, basketball's basketball. Hockey actually evolves. You can't compare Wayne Gretzky to Ovi, even though Ovi just broke his record, but you actually can't compare the two era to era. And that was it. Like, we got Trechak as a goalie coach, and he's teaching us things from 1975, and it's like, yeah, we don't do skate saves anymore. I think the one that stayed the most relevant is probably Ian Clark in Vancouver now, and he's done well. And I remember we had like Francois Lair, I was gonna go work with him, but he looked to me, he's like, "You're too small. No, I can't teach you the way that he teaches, because at 5'9", I ain't blocking shit. I have to be athletic, and I have to read plays, and I have to get there. His go down and hope you get hit style wasn't going to work for me.
Perfecter of the butterfly style, always playing on your knees, and
he was the OG of that for sure.
Yeah,
that's why my favorite was Marty Brodeur.
Yeah, I was going to ask you who your guy was.
Well, growing up, the reason I wore 29, or I wore 29 my whole career, was Ken Dryden and Mike Palmateer. That's the 20. That's where the 29 comes from. But I was never so excited to actually play in Jersey against Marty Brodeur. And I remember we're stretching beside each other in the red line. I'm like a little kid. I'm just giddy. And I look over, I'm like, hey. He's like, how you doing? And I'm good. And I'm like, hey, any chance that could get an autograph stick? And I'm like, I'm not going to lie to you, man. It's not for charity. It's not for some 3-year-old kid with cancer. It's for me, man. Like, and we're playing against each other that night, and it felt weird, but I'm like, I idolize this guy. Like, even as a pro, I'm watching him going, I wish I could do that. Yeah. And so, you know what? End of the game, he sent the trainer down with a stick autograph to me. It was awesome.
Nice. You still have it?
I do. And I'm not a collector, so to still have that, I've given away a lot of shit that I did collect, but I've given it away, but I still have that.
Do you still have all your masks?
No. If I was being, I sold them. I sold them to collectors, because I sat there and I had this grand plan of having a man cave and having all my masks up there. And then I remembered who I was, and I'm not a memorabilia guy. I'm not a flashy. I don't need a shrine. And they sat in a goalie bag for about 20 years. And I finally had a collector call me and asked if I still had them. And I said, yeah. And so I actually sold them to a collector, all but one. I kept one for my son.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Just in case he ever wants to, I don't know, throw it away, whatever he wants to do with it.
Nice. Yeah. I only have 3 of them. I've got them up on the wall here, but
my one's in my office. So, if any of the clients want to look at it and they're like, is that actually real? Yeah. Like, yeah, look at the puck marks. It's real.
Okay, so you turned pro with Cape Breton. You're for how did you end up in Edmonton system?
I got traded from Quebec. They traded me for Brad Wawrinka. Because Quebec, when I signed with Quebec, they weren't kidding. They were shitload deep. When I went to camp in Quebec, that we had 9 goalies under contract.
Wow.
That's why I went back to junior for my 20-year-old year. It made sense for them. So I went back there, and then they decided enough goalies, and they traded me to Edmonton, which was awesome.
Okay. And so yeah, you end up on the same team as Joaquin Gage, who had been drafted in the 5th round. You were drafted in the 9th round in the same draft. Is it some kind of point of pride for you that you ended up playing more NHL games than he did because he was drafted so much further ahead of you?
No, it's funny. Gager and I are actually still friends. I think I worked, and I think I wanted it.
Yeah. Peter Mahovlich was your coach. What was he like?
Pete was funny. He used to tell stories, like you said. He would sit and tell stories, and Pete was funny. He was very open about. He went through some rough stages in his career and stuff like that. And I remember he would be telling us stories like, I remember, he's like, my wife did it. He's like, oh, no, that was the 3rd wife. Forgot the 2nd wife. That was during a blackout there for a bit. And he was hilarious. He was a great guy. I don't know if Pete was the best coach in the world, but he was a fantastic man. A lot of fun to be around.
You end up being coached by Lorne Mulliken, who's a Saskatchewan legend in junior hockey. Yeah. So, and then he ends up coaching in Chicago, and somehow you end up under him again. So was that his doing?
Not somehow. And I'll give Mooner a shout out. It's not somehow. He's the reason I ended up in Chicago. We went pretty deep, the Calder Cup, and then I ended up being unrestricted free agent a year later. And Mooner told me, he's like if I get a chance, I'll bring you with me. You help me. And I helped get him, sort of a leg up in his career by playing well and getting the team from we were 2 points into the playoffs. Like, we made the playoffs by 2 points. We ended up losing out in the final of the Calder Cup. He took care of his boys. On July 1st, when I was an unrestricted free agent, I had a 3-year contract from Chicago on my desk. So he took care of the players and took care of him, and it was that old unwritten rule, and he stuck by it.
I saw you live. I don't know if this is if this is something you want to talk about, but the company I work for, we had season tickets, so I got to see Chicago, and you were playing. And I thought, great, I get to see him play live. There's a dust up in the Canucks end, and I'm watching, and all of a sudden I see from the corner of my eye, you're circling at the blue line, and you're dangling your gloves. And Garth Snow.
I was with Edmonton, by the way.
Was that Edmonton? Okay,
I was with Edmonton.
Okay, it was Edmonton then. And then so Garth Snow just smiles. and you come skating down the ice. Now you are out of your weight class here, because Garth Snow
I'm out of 3 weight classes.
Yeah, because Garth Snow is 6'3", 200 pounds, or he listed, and he's a big boy, and you're 5'9", 170. So I thought you did pretty well. He obviously won the fight, but I thought you hung in really well.
He definitely won the fight. He threw me and put me wherever he wanted. But I'm going to say this, and I'm going to preface it, and I'm not saying the fight was going to end up any different. But so in the minors, all my trainers, because I'm short, they used to cut my sleeves. So my sleeves would only come up to here, and they were big and open. So whenever I got into a fight, all I'd have to do is shake my arm, and my arm came out of all my equipment, and I had a free throwing arm. So go into that was an exhibition, by the way.
Right.
Exhibition season. So I'd already let in 3 goals. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you remember that. I remember that because my Outlaws were at the game, and that was the first game they saw me. So getting lit up felt really good. So I'd already let in 3 goals. One of them was by my buddy Dave Scatchard, who I did not want to see after the game because I was not going to live that one down. So in the exhibition season, if you get in a fight, you get thrown out of the game. So I'm like, I found my exit. I'll get my ass kicked. Awesome. So as we squared off, I drop the gloves, I take off my helmet. He does the same. We're squaring off, and I go to shake out of my jersey, and I chicken wing myself. And I'm now stuck in my jersey. So I needed every advantage I could get because he's a monster. And now I've left myself with one arm. So I've actually watched that video a few times. And it's funny because I go to shake out of it. And then I start spinning around. I'm like, oh, shit. And I'm trying to back away from him so I can get my arm out. But I'm going to say I held my own, but I'm definitely on the losing end of that one.
Yeah, I like I say, I thought you hung in pretty well for, being a short kid out of your weight class for sure. Now I saw another fight. You actually fought Dan Cloutier when he was with Tampa Bay, and that was kind of an epic bout. And what I will say is that he cheap shotted you at the end because the referees are in there, and then all of a sudden his fist comes through between the referees and tags you pretty good. And I thought you must have had some pretty choice words for him after that.
Well, because so the funny thing is I tried to fight him the year before, And he called. So there was a line brawl, and I tried to fight him the year before, and I came down to fight him, and he stuck the linesman on me. He's like, "Oh, no, no, no!" So I'm like, "Come on, man! I thought you were tough." So then we had the chance. He was having a rough game in Chicago. We were winning. There was a skirmish, and he did the same thing. He's like, "You want to go?" I'm like, "Oh, hell yeah, let's go." So we met at center ice, and nothing really happened. I got a good uppercut on him. He threw a couple, got me off balance, and then the linesman comes in, and the linesman has me basically tied up, and that's when I was laughing because I think what he didn't like is I was laughing at him. I'm like, "Fuck, I thought you were tough, man." And I was laughing the whole time, and that's when he sucker punched me, and so he gets thrown out of the game. They go to throw me out of the game, and I'm like, "Oh, no, we were the only fight." I don't know, you can go back and look at any fights, and I think that is the only time that the goalies were the actual only fight in a skirmish. And so I put my gloves back on, I just went back in net.
Oh, really?
I ended up getting first star that game.
Nice.
We won 3-1.
97-98, you're with Hamilton again. 36, 22, 17, and 5 under Lauren Mulliken. You played 27 games because they signed free agent JF LeBay, and he played 52 games. What did you feel like when they bring in this free agent to play ahead of you? And were you pissed at that, or was that just part of the process?
Sure.
Or
so the year before was when we went to the Calder Cup finals, and we lost to Hershey, where JF LeBay was the goalie in Hershey.
Oh,
I felt like Edmonton was grooming me along the way to kind of be the next one to go up, and then they sign him, and it's like, well, what are you doing? Then they loaned me out to San Antonio, and so I went down to the I for a bit, and then came back. It was a rough, it was a rough year for sure. But I mean, competition's competition. The best guy plays, man. That's the way it goes. And if the guy's better than you, well, you better step up your game.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was good. It was just kind of funny because we'd battled it out for a couple years before that, and then all of a sudden we're teammates, and there was no love lost between us, but there was, we were just competing for a job.
Yeah, and again, he played less NHL games than you did, so
yeah.
bring that. So 98-99 in Hamilton. This blew me away when I found this out. I don't know if you were teammates at the same time. Maybe you might have been separated by parts of the season. I'm not sure. But you were on the same team as Tim Thomas.
Oh, I hate that fucker.
Oh, you're preaching to the choir, buddy.
There's two people that I've ever played with that I can say I don't like, and he's one of them.
Yeah, well, he rubs me the wrong way, and
he's a fucking dick.
And I diehard Canucks fan, so watching him.
No, it has nothing to do with that. He's a bad human.
Yeah, well, in my opinion, he was a 9th round pick too out of University of Vermont, and
so he went. I'm going to tell you this: that guy was a late bloomer. I'm talking as a human. As a goalie, he went to Finland because I went and played in Jokerit as well. I think the year after he was there, it would have been close. I mean, he set records in the Finnish league for shutouts. That man changed his game around. He all of a sudden became. I don't know whether he channeled his Dominic Hasek or whatever he did, because he definitely had a weird style. But when we played together in the minors versus what I saw come back from Hamilton were different animals. They were totally different. I'm not when I say that he's a dick, I'm not saying anything against his goaltending ability, because he came back and he earned what he got.
Well, no doubt, but I'm of the of the opinion that he sold his soul to the devil because nobody does that. Like the season that he had in 2010, 2011, it was just like it defies description. He just made all these unbelievable highlight reel saves and wins.
That's what I said. He channeled his Dominic Hasek for sure.
He won every award you can win, and man, the Stanley Cup. Like to have a season like that, man, and being a 9th round pick, like crazy. I just, but yeah, whenever I saw him interviewed, I thought this guy's an asshole, man. I was just like,
oh no, he was an asshole. I threatened to beat the living shit out of him many times,
through and through. So, yeah. Now you're in with Edmonton. They have Mikhail Shtalenkov, Bob Essenza, and then they traded for Tommy Salo. So,
that was my undoing. Tommy Salo was my undoing.
You must have seen the writing on the wall then, like that you weren't.
Well, okay. So there's actually, I was having a really good year in the minors. I get called up. I was going to become an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. And then you've got, Glenn Sather is the GM. So Slats pulls me up. My first game against the Anaheim Ducks. We lose 2-1. I got first star on Hockey Night in Canada, which was amazing. Never got my interview, never got my towel. That's a whole different story. But my first couple games, I played well, and I was having a good year in the minors. And Slats is like, we got to get a contract done. I'm like, yeah, talk to my agent. I'm just trying to play hockey. Like I'm still a little nervous about every game in the NHL. So just talk to my agent. And he basically said, if you don't sign a contract, I'm going to send you back down to the minors. And I'm like, well, I'm not signing the shitty contract you're offering me. So no, I'm not going to do it. And he ended up sending me back to the minors 2 games after he made that promise, and he made a play for Tommy Salo. I'm not saying I'm in Tommy Salo's rank, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he wanted to showcase me anymore because I played 6 games. I think I only went 1-4-1, but I was playing well. And the nicest compliment he ever gave me, he's like, I'm not going to let what happened to Curtis Joseph, I'm not letting that happen again. I'm like, I don't think you can put Curtis Joseph and I in the same sentence. Like, appreciate it, but losing Cujo to free agency and losing me to free agency are 2 different things.
Yeah. Now, so you end up in Chicago with your buddy Lauren Mulliken again, and you're paired with Jocelyn Thibault.
Yep.
So, excellent goalie. Like, he was in the NHL when he was 18, which blows me away. Like, how could anybody, play in the NHL?
He was in Quebec with me when I was there.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah. Not with me. Like, he was way better than me, but.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because he was a first-round pick of the Nordiques. Exactly. So, you two seem to have kind of a yin and yang thing. Like, you're just it seems to be a good tandem. You guys, seem to work well together from outward appearances. That
we did.
Is that? Am I accurate in saying that?
100%. He was, and I think the difference is, and this is going back to what I said earlier, is you got your starters and you got your backups, and when guys understand their role, T was a great, like just a really great partner. Just he knew that I wasn't there to take his job, right? Like he wasn't threatened. He was genuinely happy for me when I went in there and I had a good game. He was probably the most pumped guy in the dressing room. But because I knew my role, I knew I was his backup. I knew my job was to give him a night off and try and give our team a chance to win. So we worked really well together for almost 5 years on and off.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, are you still friends? Like, you guys still talk?
Oddly enough, we haven't talked in forever. But if he walked in the door tomorrow, it'd be same. Like it's just one of those people that we just got along, and it was good. And like I said, everybody knew their. I think on a hockey team, everybody should know their role. We knew our role. There's only two of you, and only one of you gets to play. So it's very different. And certain guys handle it with and even when you get a couple starts in a row, some guys handle it with humility and go, "Oh my God, pass is hot. Hey, let him go." And some guys get threatened, and I think it's usually the guys that aren't as confident in themselves that are more threatened rather than going, "Oh yeah, I'd start him again too. I watched the way he played last night. Yeah, give him another one."
Yeah. So you have a brief stay with LA. Jamie Storr is the other goalie, as far as I can tell. Maybe a couple others.
That would be the other part of that equation that I'm talking about.
Yeah, he was always a bit prickly, like whenever I saw him. But not I would never characterize him as a true number one goalie. I never thought of him that way.
That was his problem. That was in his own head. And he was always mad at LA he always thought that he was supposed to be, just because he had good World Juniors. He was a first rounder. He was supposed to be so good. And LA gave him 47 opportunities to be that starter. And he just never, Storzy had a great career. Don't get me wrong. But I remember when I got traded there, and I'm a nobody. And we're beside each other, our stalls are, and I think I was about to start my 7th game in a row, and Story's sitting beside me, and he's like, "This is fucking bullshit. Can you believe they're doing this? Like, Jesus, I'm supposed to be the next starter here and everything like this, and they're not playing me, and I'm like, you know who you're complaining to, right? Like, I can't believe I've started 6 in a row. Never mind, I'm starting my 7th." So it was just kind of funny. Sometimes the first rounders get opportunity because they're like, "Oh, this is it. We thought he was good. It's good." And he was good. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think he
wasn't elite. He was never. Even being Canada's number one goalie in the World Juniors there, I thought he was okay. I thought
he was a weird bugger, though. He was a weird, quirky guy, but he was a nice dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So who was
he just had a bit of a different. I think, and again, like I said back when I was 16, sometimes you get smoke blown up your ass for so long, you start to believe it.
Yeah. Well, who was the coach in LA at that time?
Andy Murray.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Andy Murray was the nerd of coaching.
Yeah, career coach. Yeah, I never played
career nerd NHL,
though. Yeah, so
he used to. I remember we'd be on the road, and he would give us 6 a.m. every morning. We would have the scouting report. That's like this is back when everything was printed. There would be like a scouting report this big, and he'd throw it under your under your hotel room door. And it'd be like every one of their breakouts, every one of their power plays, every one of their setups, and you were supposed to read it on the shitter. I don't know what you were supposed to do, but it was paralysis by analysis.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was the problem a lot of us had with Roger Nielsen, was he tended to take a simple game and make it complicated.
Yeah, he did. But yeah. I mean, we had an okay team in LA. We had a lot of great names and a lot of great humans, and a lot of great guys that I'm fucking proud to say that I shared the jersey with. We just couldn't quite put it together.
Your picture on hockeydatabase.com to say you look intense would be the understatement of the year. You look like the photographer just shot your dog. So I can't remember what team you were with when that picture was taken, but can you just tell that story?
Well, I don't know. I just looked at it. I don't know that it. I've got two on there. So
yeah, that one. Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Are you kidding me? That's my frosted tips. My blonde frosted tips days. I think I was just trying to look a little vanilla ice or something cooler than I was.
It was. I mean, it's
when
a
you're
great
only
picture.
5'9", 170 pounds, and you fight a lot, you gotta try and look tough.
Yeah,
you're not, but you gotta try and look.
Yeah, but I was wondering if the photographer got out of there as quick as he could.
No. I'm a pretty easygoing guy.
Yeah, so your time in LA, and then you end up back in Chicago, right?
Yeah, I got traded back to Chicago. So the reason I got traded to LA was that was the expansion year, and Minnesota, Florida, maybe whoever came in at the same time there was the expansion draft. It was Florida. And both teams had said they were going to take me. LA wanted to hold on to Stefan Fissette and Jamie Storr. So they needed to expose a guy that had enough games so they could. The rules were way different back there. So the idea was, and they were going to expose quite a few guys. So the idea was Chicago figured they could trade me to LA, hide me from the expansion draft, and then it was basically a paper trade. Get traded, let the expansion draft go by. Minnesota or Florida wouldn't take me. I'd get traded back to Chicago and carry on. But Fissette got injured in between the traded back thing. So LA is like, wait a minute, we might need him for a bit longer. So I ended up spending 4 months or whatever in LA before I got traded back.
If you look on the hockey database, you played for, just in your pro career, played for probably 20, 25 teams. So you're bouncing around North America and,
and Europe.
Are you married at that time? Like, do you have a family? And is that do you have a suitcase always ready to go?
My wife put up with a lot of shit. I mean, that's always the thing that people forget about the sort of the pro hockey lifestyle is usually it's the wife that I come home and go, oh, by the way, I'm on a plane at 6 and we just got traded to or we got called up or we got traded or whatever. I remember getting called up. So I'd been traded to LA, then I got sent down to Chicago's IHL team, the Chicago Vipers. Yes. Yeah. Chicago Vipers. And my wife at the time was in Kamloops. And then we go down to Chicago. So I move her and my 130-pound Rottweiler Zeus down. And she's there for literally, I don't know, maybe a week. And we're there for Christmas. Well, Christmas Eve, LA calls and they call me up. And I'm like, your flight is 6 a.m. Christmas Day. So I got to pack them all up. My dog, my wife, we're at Chicago O'Hare, 6 a.m. Christmas morning, fly her back to Kamloops, BC. I'm flying to LA, and I remember calling my buddy because I went to a poker house. A, I play poker, and B, there's nothing else open on Christmas Day. And I remember calling him I'm like, hey, Merry Christmas. He's like, where are you? I'm like, I'm at the casino. he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, it's one of the only places open. So like that, the glitz and the glamour of the pro hockey lifestyle is not always there.
One question I wanted to ask you, because like the level of hockey that I played, we had a beat reporter basically, and they get a quote here and then, but dealing with the media, like, how does it affect you when people who have never ever played the position are picking apart your game? Is that tough to deal with?
Well, you've been on with me here for now an hour and change. How do you think? I'm not. Honestly, like I'm pretty relaxed. I used to be out there on the ice and I would sing and dance and I'd find the hottest chick in the stands, during the game in between whistles. And I found a mindset that worked for me, and it came to, and it fit my personality and who I am. And I was intense whistle to whistle, and after that, I had a lot of fun, just because it let my brain relax.
Mm-hmm.
So same thing with media. I'd have a lot of fun. I love doing interviews. I loved it. It was a lot of fun, and especially when you get to mess with them, and they want the static answer, and then you throw something sideways at them. Oh, they had a tough time dealing with that.
That year, I don't know if it was 2 years. I didn't write it down, but you got to play with one of my favorite players. He's at the end of his career now. He's probably maybe 37 years old by this time. But Phil Housley was on that team. I love to watch him play because he could just take over a game like seemingly at will. He could just say, "Okay, now it's time for me to take this game over," and he would just puck control you to death, and so, I really
unbelievable hands and unbelievable vision of the rink. Back he was in the era of, I mean, he's no Cale Makar, but he skated well. He was good laterally. He had great vision, built like a bag of milk. But just like, what an offensive ability.
He wasn't going to overpower you, no doubt about that.
No, he wasn't. No, but he was smart enough. He'd still get the puck off you, though.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. The puck was always
not overpowering you, but next thing you know, you'll be trying to make him move, and he's gone the other way.
Yeah, just the thinking man's player for sure. Yeah, I really loved watching him play. I really did. Like, whenever I got the chance, I would watch. Now, okay, so basically the rest of your career, I think you play one more year. Well, 02-03, you're in Chicago. Craig Anderson comes in at 21 years old. He's
I taught two kids to take my job. I taught Craig Anderson and Michael Layton. I groomed them both to take my job. That wasn't very smart on my part. But you know what? It was funny, though, because Chicago, I talked to management, and they're like, they talked about the two. And I'm like, listen, Anderson, go with Anderson all day long. Like, Layton's a really nice kid. He's good. He was probably mentally mature ahead of Anderson, but I'm like, Andy is technically one of the soundest goalies I'd ever seen at that point. Like he was so sound in his movements, in his style, everything. Wasn't mentally as calm and mature as Layton was, but I said between the two, I'm like, if you're gonna flip this pancake, go with Anderson all day. And they ended up going the other way. And they thought they were higher on Layton, and I both went on and did okay. But Anderson, obviously, style won out over maturity.
Yeah, Layton was like you. He seemingly played in every place that had a hockey team. It was just like he was like, you look at his career, he's just everywhere.
His DB isn't quite as long as mine, but it's close.
Yeah. Yeah. So now you end up going to Europe. 03-04, you played 9 games. That's where Thibault, Layton, and Anderson. Layton played 35 games. Anderson played 21. You played 9.
I had hip surgery that year.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask you, did you have any major injuries? Like,
they had to rebuild my hip.
Did you ever have
labrum tears and tendon tears and stuff like that? They just had to rebuild it.
Yeah. Like I played hockey for 35 years and I never had a concussion. Did you ever have a concussion?
Not that I remember.
Yeah, that's weird.
I've had tons.
Yeah,
I've had lots.
Yeah, because I've never been, I'm in full slap shots, in the head and stuff. I've never been even knocked dizzy. So I don't know if I have a really hard head or a really small pea brain or lots of liquid in there to cushion.
Or a bit of both.
So yeah. So, but I was very lucky. Yeah. So, and I never had any surgeries. I had a sprained knee. I had a sprained shoulder, ankles. That kind
I've
of
blown
stuff.
my knees out. I've had 5 MCL tears.
Wow.
Rebuilt the one hip. Dislocated shoulder. I don't know how many concussion. Yeah, I've had a few.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. 'Cause, you end up in Europe after your NHL career is over, and you end up in Mannheim, and you're playing with Stefan Richer and Jochen Hecht,
He's a coach.
Andy Delmore, and Chris Joseph. Yeah, and Cristobal Huet. Cristobal Huet is the other goalie. So yeah, quite a few NHLers on that team. It must have been a hell of a team.
Well, the funny thing is, though, so the reason Huey got a job there is because Chris wrecked my knee. So we were playing. I went over there for the lockout. So during the lockout, I think we had 14 if you can count them, but I think there's 14 NHLers on that list. And went over there. I was playing and went down, made a save, and Chris falls on my knee. He's like, "Pass, are you okay?" I'm like, "I will be in 4 to 6 weeks." He's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "You just blew my MCL out." So he did, and then Huey was practicing with the team, and then so they signed Huey, and then he and I became partners when I came back from my MCL surgery.
Oh, nice. Yeah, he was a good goalie. I liked watching him play. So
he was, and he had a great. You know what? For a guy that also wasn't very, he was probably six. I think he's 6 foot, six-ish. I think he had a great style. He used his size to his advantage. Like he played a lot bigger than I think he was, and he had a great mentality about him. I think that's what really helped his career.
So, how much did you enjoy playing in Europe? Because that was always a dream of mine, was to be able to go to Europe and play.
I really loved the lifestyle. I had a hard time. This is a me problem. This isn't a Europe problem. I had a hard time going from the NHL to there and getting pumped up to play the games. I couldn't. My mindset wasn't right. So I blame that on me. I don't blame that on Europe. But I really enjoyed it. I don't think I excelled over there. I don't think the game fit my style. I think over there you were better off to be a back in your net blocker than an aggressive style. And I didn't adjust my game properly. I should have tried to. I should have tried to stay a foot deeper in my crease or deeper in my net and go with my reactionary. I stayed to try and be as aggressive, and it's a lot bigger rink and it's a lot more wide open. And I don't think I adjusted my game to that, but I really loved living over there. And I had a great 3 years over there and played with great teams, had a great experience. By that time I'm married and I have a family. I was married before, but then I had a family. So it was a cool experience.
Mm-hmm. So who was the funniest guy you ever played with?
So I played with Louis DeBrusque, right? We called him Uncle Remus because he would just kind of call everybody into the bed. Just let me regale you with stories, and he would tell stories. Louis was awesome for doing that, and really good to the young guys. I played with Mark LaForge. Forgy was in Cape Breton with me. I think he might be Mensa-ish, like top 2 percentile, one of the smartest men I've ever met. Toughest, craziest. He and I roomed together, but he was hilarious. But just most of his jokes were above everybody's head. He would be one of them. Played with a lot of characters, so it was pretty good. I remember my first game ever in the NHL, and Dougie Waite was our captain in Edmonton. And I remember I'm getting ready and I'm nervous. I'm starting against Anaheim, and Waiter's across the room, and all I hear is he's like, "Pass." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Is this your first game in the NHL?" And I'm like, Yep. He goes, "Oh, fuck." He goes, "Whatever you do, don't shit the bed tonight." And I was like, "Oh my God." And it honestly, it literally helped, because it just broke all the nervousness you had. Everybody's laughing. And he came up to me after the game, and he's like, "Pass, I'm really sorry." He goes, "I had an old vet my first game tell me the exact same thing." And he goes, "It really helped me." He goes, "I've done it to every rookie that comes up." Like, that honestly did help, because it got me out of my own head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that was one of the funniest comments I've ever heard.
Yeah. Well, he wouldn't have done it if he didn't, really believe that you could handle it, right? So
He knew I could figure it out.
yeah, exactly. So, from the funniest to the craziest, who's the craziest guy you ever played with?
Mark LaForge.
Really?
Same dude. I remember we're playing, and Mark was a tough guy, which meant a tough guy, other than Stu Grimson, who I played with as well, is again another guy, super crazy, smart, but tough as hell. And Forgy was tough. And I remember this kid came up, and we're playing a game, and the guy's like, "Forgy, let's go, and I want to fight." And Forgy just looks at him, just calm, and just like, just cross checks him right in the teeth. Like, nope. He had just such a weird personality to be super smart, super tough. Weird combination.
Well, I remember watching Stu Grimson fight one. I don't remember who it was, but he basically just shook the guy a little bit, and then punched him, then shook the guy a little bit more and punched him again.
He did that a few times.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what goalies do you watch now? Who are you a fan of that's playing today?
Who am I a fan of now? You know what? Quick still amazes me that he's still doing what he's doing. Because I find him weird. I don't find him super big, but he plays deep in his net, and he's so flexible and so he reads plays really well, where I don't find goalies now read plays as well as we used to back in my day. Like, back in my day, you had to read guys. So he's doing awesome.
Well, his lateral movement is off the charts.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
Fleury, tip of the cap to him. He's always been fun to watch. I watched him, we weren't together. I watched him after, but I think he's awesome. These big guys, I can't believe that we still defend the same net that I did, because I'm almost embarrassed for them. If I was to be honest, I'm like, dude, if I was 6'6", I don't think they would have scored.
Yeah.
I know that's easy to say, but I'm like, how do you not accidentally get hit? You're 6'6". I was 5'9", and we defended the same goal. How do you not get hit?
Yeah. The guy that I find myself watching, and even though it's almost a sin, because like I say, I'm a diehard Canucks fan, so rooting for Calgary, Dustin Wolf. And just
he's come on quite well.
Yeah.
So here I'm gonna be a bit of an ass. Here's my thing: if he can do it 3-4 years in a row,
exactly,
and that's because I think we're in an era right now, and where there has been a lot of money wasted on fucking goalies that had a good 6 months. And I think goalies are they're an anomaly. It's such a mental game. We've all been there, where sometimes the puck looks like a beach ball and sometimes it looks like a BB. And it could be the same thing in a week. Sometimes you're like, guys are coming down, you're like, go ahead, shoot. You're not going to score. Other times, guys are coming down. You're like, oh, please miss the net because I don't think I know where this is going. So I think we've wasted a lot of money on giving goalies that have a good 6 months in their free agent year. Then they sign them to a 5-year deal at a big number. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Did you look at the last 4 years? I'm not saying the guy's not getting better, but I'm saying he was in the minors for the last 4 years. He had a good 6 months, and then you give him a huge deal.
I don't know if you remember a guy named Martin Prusek, but he was a goalie for Ottawa, and I thought he was going to be the next Dominic Hasek. And that's just like, I couldn't have been more wrong. I mean, I think he lasted maybe a year or two, and then I just thought.
But that's the thing with goalies. I would always be, I'd always be cautious to sign the guy that doesn't necessarily have the longevity and then has a good year for last 4 months. Usually that's what it ends up being, the last 4 months. Like you got a Soupy Campbell in Edmonton, right?
Yeah.
On fire. Like there's a few guys there. I'm not picking on him, but there was a few guys there that had great year, and then all of a sudden they're not ready to be a starter. Go back to Jim Carey in Washington when he wins the Vezina. 2 years later, he's in the East Coast League.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
can't stop a puck and retires.
Yeah, exactly. Or Jim Craig, wins the gold medal and plays, I think, 8 games in the NHL. And so, yeah. Okay, we're coming to the end of our time here. I'm going to let you go. I kept you way longer than I intended to. I apologize for that. But, just for our viewing audience, we really like to get to know our guests. So I'm going to ask you just a few personal questions. Like, what's your favorite TV show?
Favorite TV show? Jesus, that's going to be a tough one. It'd be any elk hunting show.
Okay. And then favorite movie?
Movie would probably be Major League. I'll just gonna kick it old school. Yeah, Major League would be right up there for sure.
Yeah, I love Major League when Wild Thing walks out of the bullpen to that song, and just
make my heart sing.
I get goosebumps every time I watch that.
So do I every time.
Yeah. So and then music. What kind of music do you listen to?
Country. If it ain't country, it's probably not playing. I'm a bit of a redneck hick. I'm outdoors. I hunt. I fish, and grew up on a ranch, man.
Yeah, we are on opposite ends of the spectrum there. I'm a city boy. If I get more than 10 miles from a 7-Eleven, I get sweaty. So
fair enough. But if you need to get fed, come see me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, whenever I need a good steak. Yeah,
I got three freezers in my garage, and they're full of meat.
Oh man, I'm on my way. So thank you very much, Steve. Really, I can't tell you how excited I was to get you on the show and to be able to talk to a bona fide NHL goalie, because
I don't know bona fide. I was of the 60 goalies in the NHL, I was in the bottom 5 fucking of them. So
but you made it. You made it to the show. And
I appreciate that. I really do. It's been fun. I make fun of my own career all the time, and I think the reason is because, like you said, we're all competitive, and I expected my career to be better. As I get older, I look back and go, it wasn't that bad. You did okay. But I think the competitive still thinks you should have done better. So I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. I do appreciate it.
Do you want to give a shout out to what you're doing now? Like what?
I'm a financial advisor in Kamloops with Sun Life. I run my own business because I figured I don't work well for other people. So I do run my own business. I've got my own block. I take care of my own clients. That's what I do for a living, is trying to help make sure that people don't burn through the money like I did when I was making it.
When you first got to the NHL, did they do those seminars, or how to handle your money? Or Because they do that now with the rookies.
No, they were fucking terrible. They didn't tell. And when I say that's why I do what I do now, I 100%. That's exactly why I do what I do. Is two reasons. One, my dad passed away when he was 50. He had no will, no planning, no nothing, and his ex-wife stole everything. And the other thing is money. I wish somebody would have told me what to do with my money when I was making it, and had some planning for long term. You just got your paycheck every 2 weeks and did whatever you did with it, you did with it. So I really wish somebody would have educated me, and even somebody I trusted to just push it to them and go, you do this. That would have been helpful. So that was one thing that actually led me to do what I do now. Is I just want to help people and make sure that they're taken care of, their family's taken care of, and if something shitty goes wrong, their family's still taken care of, and they have money when they retire. That's why I do it.
Nice. Yeah. Well, my best contract, I made $1,000 a month. So,
well, I made a little bit more than that, but I'll tell you what, at the end of it, you probably had more of it left than I did.
Well, yeah. I mean, rent was like $100 a month. So it was like, yeah. Yeah. Room board. Okay. So, for being on the show, I'm going to send you can see over my shoulder there, my book, Memoir of a Hockey Nobody. So just email me your address and I will send you a signed copy, which me signing it actually brings down the value, but I'm going to do it anyway. So.
Hey, paper's still worth more than the signature. I get it. Same with my hockey cards.
Right on. So yeah, just email me your address. I'll send a book. So,
awesome. Cheers. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve. We'll have you on again sometime.
I'll be here.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.